working better, thank you. Man back in the sound booth. Yes, welcome. My name is Dan Edwards, and I'm principal here at Twin Oaks Middle School. And we'll be running through a presentation. We're in multiple locations, including live stream. So welcome to all those who are joining us on live stream. First time ever doing this presentation in this format. Last year was our first time ever moving the presentation out of the gymnasium into these nice cushy seats in the auditorium, and that was much appreciated by our attendees last year, I recall, because previously we were in the gym, the old gym, the wood seats with no backs on them, so hopefully those of you who are joining us here in person are in comfort, and those of you that are joining us at home are also in comfort. We want to welcome you as current fifth grade parents who are going to soon be sixth grade parents. Those of you at home, you can't show me by your hand, but I'm just curious, those of you here in the audience, how many of you is this your first time as a middle school parent next year? Awesome, that's like about over half, close to maybe 2/3 of our audience in person will be first time middle school parents, and welcome to the journey. It's a great one. It is a great one, and we're pleased to be on that journey with you as principals, and you'll hear from my principal colleague and assistant principal colleague in a moment. And let's see, you gotta press the right button, but now I'm not sure. Dave, give me an advance, please. There we go. Okay, again, I am up here, Dan Edwards, principal at Twin Oaks. Mr. Dahl, our assistant principal, unable to join us this evening, but you will be hearing from Mr. Kuznetsov in a moment, the Hidden Oaks principal, and Ms. Siegel, the Hidden Oaks assistant principal. And in addition to our administrative team, we really do have a phenomenal staff that truly understands middle school students. I think both Sasha and I have been at this for a number of years. I can't remember if it's 14 or 15. He might remember and might share that with you momentarily when he comes on stage. But anyways, we've been doing this a long time with this team of folks here at our two middle schools, and we have a great team of staff. And frankly, this staff has gone through, just like all of you, a very challenging past 11 months. And one of the common questions that's out there in the question document that you had a chance to contribute to, I'm just going to hit it off right now. We would love to have all of your kids here in school next year. Our staff would love to have them all here in person for the start of the year. So that's certainly our goal. If we've all learned anything in the last 11 months, it's important to have goals, but we also have to be flexible and adaptable, and that's what COVID has taught all of us. But definitely it's our goal, and our staff will be anxiously awaiting the arrival of your students. It is a time of great change. And certainly those of you who are entering into this phase of parenting for the first time, you're going to enjoy the ride, or at least I'm going to encourage you to enjoy the ride. It's a fun ride, a ride that I've been on with middle schoolers in professional capacity for a number of years, as I mentioned, but I also have a 20-year-old and a 16-year-old, so I've been on it with them as well. They do a lot of development, and this is a time of great growth, a lot of kind of learning and feeling it out and figuring out who they are, and that's what we love to celebrate at our two middle schools, is helping students learn responsibility while gaining independence. This is a picture of a couple of our staff members sending messages out to our kiddos during our time last spring when we first went into distance learning. So could we advance? Sorry. All right. So we have a very unique arrangement. 2 buildings, 2 schools, and 1 campus. It's a partnership, as I mentioned, has been in existence for 14 or 15 years, and it works extremely well. Our staff, this picture down in the corner kind of depicts, if you haven't driven down Fish Point Road at 7:10 in the morning, I would recommend you don't until you have to. or at 2:10 in the afternoon, because this is what it does look like. Our buses go out into the neighborhoods, pick up all the kids based upon their address and their bus stop, and they bring them. And half the buses come to Twin Oaks, and half the buses come to Hidden Oaks, and we do the magic dance and shuffle. And this is an example of that at the end of the day. It looks like it's probably the end of the day because it's nice and sunny out. And yeah, can't wait for that time, right? But with that, we have the wonderful thing about this two schools, but one campus approach is we can offer an amazing programming of opportunities to students at the middle school level that frankly is unrivaled in my opinion in the Twin Cities metro area and across the state and probably across the country. Because we are a school of a campus of 2,200 students approximately, but we are two schools of about 1,100 apiece, which helps us keep it a small school feel, while at the same time offering an amazing array of courses, and all doing so by keeping our students' safety in mind. We have monitor at the crosswalk to ensure safety every hour of the day, and kids do travel, not as much in 6th grade. However, there are programming reasons why students might travel across the street for a particular class. Again, it's all about getting them the best course selection process or available courses that they could have, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. But we do so in a very safe way, and we've been doing so in a very safe way for a number of years, and frankly, kids like it. They enjoy the opportunity to, especially after sitting still, when they're 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, sitting still for 54 minutes in a class period, they get a chance to get up and move, and in some cases get a chance to move across the street, and in some cases get to enjoy beautiful sunshine, or rain or snow, depending on the circumstances. So, great opportunity, and we're excited. We continue to be excited to offer that campus approach with small school feel. All right. Daily schedule. It's early, one of the earliest around, if not the earliest, 7:25 this year actually. We are starting at 7:20. Buses didn't go any earlier. We just let the kids into the building and in the classrooms earlier because of the fact that this year, because of our model, they don't have lockers. That will hopefully go away, and we'll be back to that next year. But anyways, we start class at 7:25 a.m. and until 2:06, and the kids ride home on the bus or get picked up or walk home, and we ask that they do not stay after school unless they are attending one of our after school programs or participating in an after school activity. They go through 6 53-minute classes and an advisory / lunch period each day, and the schedule does have 5 minutes of passing time. Opportunities, if they need to travel, we find that that's sufficient. 6th graders take a little time sometimes to find their way around the building in the first few weeks, but that's one of the things that I love about each of our staffs is they are very there to help our kiddos navigate and figure out how to get from point A to point B on this what might seem like a very big school or big campus. They figure it out. We also have on Wednesdays a time called win time, where we shorten our schedule a little bit so that we have additional support time at the end of the day. Next one. And here's a look at our times of day. And again, period 4, 5, and 6 are the lunch periods. So if in the case of a 6th grader, period 5 is their lunch period, right in the middle of the day there. They get the optimum lunch time of the day. The 8th graders get the early brunch time, and the 7th graders have to make it all the way till about 12:15 before they get a chance to have lunch. So, we give the optimum lunch time to our 6th graders, and they have a 30-minute lunch, and then they have a period after that or before that, depending on the schedule, of advisory, where they meet on a daily basis with an advisor. And I think we're almost up to Miss Siegel. Yes, indeed we are.
My name is Julie Siegel, and I'm the assistant principal across the street at Hidden Oaks Middle School. And I'm so glad to see faces. I know you can only, I have a face, and you only have eyes, but we just keep going through this. We just have to keep going through this. One thing that I really like about our two middle schools is that we put a lot of time, energy, and effort in making our schools a safe place for all kids and adults. And how we do that is we are a PBIS school. Most of the elementaries that you've come from also had PBIS programs, which stand for Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports. So within our program, the three main pillars that we concentrate on as middle school is we ask the kids to be Lakers, which means that they're safe, accountable, and respectful. And almost any behavior inside and or outside of school falls under those three pillars. And we like to recognize students for doing different things and showing that they're accountable, showing that they're safe. And to teach those skills of how to do that on a daily basis as a middle schooler. Some students need a little more practice than others. Others have less challenge of meeting those expectations. And within this program, we really like to focus on what's going well. We have little Laker tickets that we give out to students to say thank you for doing that we observed. We have drawings, we have all-star teams with teachers that nominate two students every 9 weeks of the quarter or every half quarter during the very middle. So just really focusing on the positive parts of student life and being a middle schooler, excuse me. And one of my favorite things is we do this twice a year. We do something called an all-star breakfast. If your child was nominated for the all-star team that we have donuts and juice, and we all gather together with parents. We have entertainment, a speaker usually, and it really just capitalizes on how we want to support our students of, becoming productive citizens. And it's also a way, I don't know if everyone thinks this, but to thank parents. Because without your love and support and helping your student grow to be the best student they can be, we're also thanking you at those times. So that's something that we do at the middle school. Registration. Registration is happening right at this moment. It usually happens a little bit earlier, but this year, with everything else, our timeline has kind of moved back. Guidance counselors will be having Google Meets with your 5th grader on the 4th and 5th of March. And during that time, they will explain, this is what choices that you have. This is how you fill out your registration form. Talking about middle school life. What is it like? Answering questions, doing those types of things. And for 6th grade, it's pretty easy. The basic things that you need to answer is 1, do you want band, choir, or general music and discover coding? That's the one choice. The other choice that you will have on your registration form is if your son or daughter qualifies for any advanced classes, it would have the advanced class name, and then it will say yes and no by it, and then that gives you the choice as a parent to decide, oh, well, my son or daughter qualified for 4 advanced classes, I think we'll just do 2. Or maybe you want to do 4. It all depends on your family, and you need to make that decision. Now, the DLA students, we didn't really think about that until last week. I'm like, oh my gosh, we don't have physical contact with them, so getting them a registration form for them to return isn't going to work. So what's happening if your student is in the DLA Academy, your registration form will be mailed home. Then you will be getting a link from your DLA teacher, and you'll go in and fill out your your music, and then your other choices. And then that way that cuts out the need for bringing the paper back and forth. If your student is in all person right now, they will return that registration form to their child's teacher on the 12th. And then what happens after that is we go through all of those things, we get numbers, and we hand that over to Mr. K and Mr. Dr. Edwards, and we all start to build the schedule for the following year. So that's kind of the first step in the process. So we encourage you as parents to just have those conversations with your kids about what they want to take. And after 6th grade, choices are just huge, exponential actually, in comparison to other middle schools around us. Unique features of 6th grade. Most of the classes that our students take that are not electives, so not the music, not the health, not the phy-ed, not technology education, are housed at the very back of the building. So if it's science, social studies, math, and English, tends to be all in the back of the building, and some kids just have all 4 classes in that one housed area, which is really nice. So there's 2 pods next to each other that have most of the 6th grade classes. So when they go to their first core things, they don't have to do a lot of traveling. When they go to art and facts and IT, that's more at the front of the building, but most during the day they're in the back of the building. So they kind of have their own little area. It's interesting how much a 5th grader can grow between 5th and 6th grade. And it's also interesting how much maybe parents want to enforce on accountability and some responsibility. It's a time for them to kind of step out and learn some things on their own of how they can become the best people and students that they can be. And it's also a time for you as parents to really support. Even though they're in middle school, they need you. And so continuing as, you know, where is that line and responsibility, accountability, but yet they're still your son or daughter. Electives I brought up a little bit. There's art class, facts class, which was our old home ec. I don't know if some of you are as old as me, but, and then band, choir, general music, coding, Spanish. And if you're from Ola del Lago, you have the opportunity for the immersion Spanish and then the immersion Minnesota studies. If you take one, we want you to take both. And I talked about advanced course opportunities in math, English, science, and Minnesota studies. Yes? Great question. So we've done, John Dahl and I, he's the assistant principal here at Twin Oaks, we've done some communication with the 5th grade teachers right now in saying, these are what we recommend. If you decide differently, I know some kids are grade skipped, so then they'll say no, they need to take advanced 7th grade pre-algebra, or we have students that are double grade skipped that we've already communicated. Now, let's say you get your registration form and there's a mistake because they already took advanced 6th grade or advanced 7th grade, then you just need to communicate with us. But we have made all of those changes with the communication with 5th grade teachers. Great question. So I've kind of already touched on this before, but student schedule as a 6th grader is pretty basic with their math, 1 period of the day, their English, their Minnesota studies, which is 1 semester, and then the other semester would be phy-ed, and then the 4th class would be science, and then on an every other day rotation is your music choice and your Spanish. So one day, if it's a day 1, I have Spanish. On day 2, I have choir. So that's the every other day rotation. And then the facts class, the art class, the technology, education, and health is all day, every day for a quarter. So 3 different things working here, but they all work very well together. And it gives your 6th grader great opportunities for different things to try. So 7th grade, like I said before, really the amount of electives increases so many. They have the same features with the advanced classes, just like 6th grade. There's optional continuation of Spanish. So as a 6th grader, you would take Spanish A, and as a 7th grader, you take Spanish B. And then if they wanted to continue on that as an 8th grader, they could take Spanish 2. Some students choose not to take it in 7th grade, and then they take it Spanish 1 in 8th grade. Either way works. So you have some flexibility if you exit a language to get back in. And then more electives, which if you want to show them, we've got tons. Yep. As a 6th grader, yes. So 7th grade schedule, these all run on an every other day. So choir, Spanish, French, intro to French, arts and crafts, a PE class, a personal training class, web page, keyboarding, 2 FACS classes, the cook it, buy it, make it, sew it. I don't remember that one ever. I always call it cook, bake, sew. Drumming and electronic music, intro to German, design and modeling, transportation and aerospace, which are 2 STEM classes. And then art, technology, and clay, more than cooking, and band. So as a 7th grader, when they exit their 6th grade year, they have a lot of choice to start experimenting with some other courses. Mr. K, is this still me? Okay, it is. So 8th grade, 8th grade, again, they have a lot of opportunities and electives, but just like 6th grade and 7th grade, they have the 4 main core with the 4 advanced. There is an extension class that's an all-day, everyday class in math if a student needs some extra support. There's more electives, again, as an 8th grader, and then also moving towards what do you want to do in high school? You know, do you want to take some classes here that might give you an idea of what you want to take in high school? And 8th grade classes are quarter everyday classes. They don't have any other day class, every other day classes. They have all everyday quarter classes. So that's more like a high school schedule would be. And if you want to look at the electives that we have for 8th grade, so the band choir, the Spanish with the level 1 and level 2, German and French, personal training, green architecture, which is one of our STEM courses, PE, and that's more of a group FIAD class, keyboarding, a budget course, graphic art, another art class, design on your own, Amped Up, which is a guitar class for kids, and then automation and robotics, which is also a Project Lead the Way, the eSTEM course. So lots of choices. All right, and here's Mr. Kuznetsov.
Hello, good evening everyone, and everyone who's here, good evening, and everyone who is at home watching. We just checked it out, there are 311 people tuned in, so that's great. Hello to everyone. So I'm Mr. Kuznetsov, principal here in Knox Middle School, and like Dan mentioned earlier, we've been having meetings like this for the last 15 years. This is number 15, so you're in good hands. We have a lot of experience and we learned a lot over 15 years, so we're good at that. I would like to share with you a little bit about advanced courses placement, and there was a brief question earlier about math. As you may have heard, at the middle school we offer advanced courses in math, science, social studies, and English. So in social studies it's Minnesota Studies, Advanced Social Studies, and then in 7th grade it's Advanced US History, and 8th grade Advanced Geography. So one is not a prerequisite for another one, because they're just 3 different types of social studies classes. So if your child qualified perhaps for advanced social studies and say, well, maybe not in 6th grade, but we're really passionate about US history, come 7th grade, we would like to take it. And that's just fine too. No one's gonna say, well, you didn't take it in 6th grade, you cannot do it in 7th grade, okay? The same for science, because in 6th grade it's physics, so there's advanced physics in 6th grade, and then in 7th grade is life science, and 8th grade earth science. Same thing, your child might be saying, well, I really would like to learn about rocks and minerals and space, that's where I would like to take an advanced class. Great, wait till 8th grade, you don't have to take it in 6th and 7th grade. So it will be a family decision once you qualify. And then advanced math, well, of course, we recommend if you qualify, do not skip the grade. Math, as you know, you and I know, is very sequential. If you miss the year of advanced class, you'll be far behind if you're waiting until 7th or the 8th grade. So continue on with the same sequence of advanced classes. That would be our recommendation to be your first one on the list. If you're considering, okay, is it going to overload my child or not, on the amount of work that they have to do in class and at home? We would recommend, if you qualified for all four, you put math at first, and then after that decide English, social studies, and science, and whichever order you would benefit. Or you can take all four. So we have kids who take 1, 2, 3, or all four, and they've been successful. Now you know your child better than we do, and it will be a conversation that you would have at home, and say, okay, are you able to handle it? It does require a little bit more independence on the student side. The curriculum is more in-depth. In math, it's more acceleration. In English, social studies, and science, it is more in-depth, more enriched curriculum. Now, if my child is not taking advanced science, taking regular science, will my child be challenged? Yes, they will be challenged as well. So we challenge students, and there is a rigor. Doesn't matter if it's an advanced science or regular science, advanced English or not. It's the level of rigor and the level of advancement is different, but our teachers are really good at differentiating regardless if it's an advanced class or not. Okay, so how do we place students in advanced classes? So in math, of course, if students continue, if they already grade skip, that was one of the questions, right? So we're going to continue them on the same grade skip track. Now, what we look at the students' assessments, and this year is a transition year for the district from the math test to FastBridge. Your child experienced both. Last year was math test, or MWA also known. And this year, all kids in the district, elementary, middle, high school, taking a FastBridge, math and reading. Different company, same type of assessment, computerized, it levels students as they take a test and give them percentile at the end. So we are taking, because it's a transition year, we'll be looking at your child last year math test results in addition to this winter FastBridge math and reading. So if your child is a 90th percentile, then they would, or higher, they would qualify in, for example, in reading, they would qualify to take an advanced English and advanced social studies. In order to qualify for advanced science, they need to have a 90th percentile or higher in advanced math and reading at the same time. And then, of course, 90th percentile in math puts them in an advanced 6th grade math class. One more thing about test, as you know, it's a one-time snapshot. We'll be looking at the last year test results. We'll be looking at this winter. And of course, we will be coming back again in the spring and say, okay, let's see where you at. You maybe were at the 98th, 89th percentile. You weren't at 90. Let's see how things are going in spring. There are a handful number of kids are moving in and out come spring. So we try to be very flexible and see how things are going for your child. Especially this year is very different. That's another reason we want to look at the math test results, which was a reliable test for us as well in the past. We want to look at the last year test results. Now, some students have a grade skip, or they might become a student who qualified to skip a grade in certain area, and what we look at the student is at the 98th percentile. And what percentile is on the math and the FastBridge is not how many questions they answer correctly, it's how they've been rated in comparison to all students in the nation who took the same test. So 98th percentile saying that this child took a test that scored better than 98% of the students who took the same test at the same time in the nation. And so what we do, once they pre-qualify with the 98th percentile, we ask them to take an end of the year summative assessment, and they need to be successful at that. So MAP test and the fast bridge is one indicator, but then they also need to demonstrate that they've mastered the standards that our students will be mastering throughout the year in either math, science, social studies, or English. And so there are a handful number of kids, so maybe one or two every year who would skip, for example, science, or and so those are very unique times and cases. We also encourage, it's a decision that you make as a family. Do you want your child to accelerate, skip a grade, or do you want your child to hang out with their peers? And we don't want you to be on your own to make that decision. We'll be a team with you, with guidance counselors, Dr. Edwards, myself, right, individually meeting with you, talking through, meeting with teachers, so we can all make the best decision we can make with information that we'll have in front of us at that point. Transition events. So while this slide is talking about transition events, we are well aware in 15 years we've learned that transition doesn't start and stops during those events. And some kids need a little bit more time to transition. There is no deadline. Okay, by that day you should be all transitioned. Like we expect you to be a sixth grader. So it is a transition. It's different for everyone, and we support kids at whatever point they step in whichever level of transitioning they are with us, and we pick them up where they at, and we carry them through and support them until they feel comfortable to be a middle school student. So what are the events we do in May? Students will be sent a letter notifying what are the middle school placement. And I know there have been a couple questions they are submitted in advance. Are there attendance boundaries? No, there are no. In private Savage, this is very unique. We do not have attendance boundaries. So how do we place students? We evenly divide them between two middle schools. So we've done it, again, we've done it for 15 years. It's a very slick process. We try to balance it out, kids by abilities, again, we're not looking at their zip code or their addresses. We really evenly divide students between two middle schools, like 50%, 50%, right? So then there are some parents are asking, well, how would I know, can I request to be at a certain school, right? Yes, you can do that, and what we try to do, we keep siblings together unless parents requesting to split them up, and there were times where the parents would ask to split siblings up, and that is okay too, right? And but we try to keep siblings together. Now, what we do not keep your incoming, if your older sibling is an 8th grader right now, we don't want you to assume that we'll be keeping them together, because they're an outgoing group of students. Okay, so for that reason, what you need, if you have an 8th grader now and you have incoming 6th grader, we asking you to email to both Dr. Edwards and myself with your request for placement, whichever school you are requesting. And again, people email us, and we ask you to email to both of us. If you email one of us, we usually respond and include the other person. And the reason we do that, so we are both aware of all the requests, so we don't miss them. Because again, we're going to have close to 700 sixth graders. There are multiple requests that are coming through. We want to make sure we, on both sides of the street, we're aware of all the requests. And then comes maybe end of April, beginning of May, we bring all the requests in, we bring all students in, we split them up. And then by mid-May, usually around mid-May, we send a placement letter. We'll let you know the letter is going out, and you go to mailbox, pick up the letter, and open it up, and it says, welcome to Twin Oaks Middle School, welcome to Hidden Oaks Middle School. That's all you would get in that letter, and there are upcoming events for each school. And what our upcoming events will be in the parent information night, and we're hoping at that time, it's usually end of May, we're hopeful that everyone can come and we can be all together, not virtually, And then at that time, you will have a chance to meet guidance counselors, nurses, social worker, dean of students, both, again, assistant principal and principal of the building where you're placed. We'll be talking about, again, what's coming up, what other dates we have in place right now for transition at that point, because at this time, we do not know when back to school night is gonna be, like you're planning your summer, for example, right? So we will know by that time the date. Usually it's the last week of summer before school begins. We would know more comes May meeting. We'll let you know about back to school night. And then the date to be determined. And the date for the spring meeting will be in the placement letter. Again, usually plan for the probably end of May, last 2 weeks of May, we usually have the meeting. Okay. Okay, and in August, so we have a back to school night, right? So that's a chance for you to walk in the building, meet and greet teachers. It's an open house style, so there's no rotation of the schedule, but you're going from class to class. It's really, and again, we're hopeful that we all can enter the building at the same time and be there. And then the web program where everyone belongs. And what the program is usually the week before back to school night. And it's for students. It's a half a day program. You get to drop off your child in the morning to school, whichever school you placed in, and they get to spend a half a day, about 3 to 4 hours with our 8th grade web leaders. So our 8th grade students are getting trained in around April, May of this year, and more in the summer. And we have a chance to meet 6th graders in small groups, and large groups get to meet 8th graders. And then they get to ride the bus home all by themselves on the way home. You can pick them up too. And in addition to that, at that time, we offer a meeting for parents. If you have any additional questions, we help you with Schoology, Infinite Campus, if you have any questions about that. Mainly around technology. Okay, well now we're gonna open for questions. There were some questions submitted to us. I'm gonna go through some of them and then we'll see if there are any questions on the audience. Okay? So, let's look at that. When a back to school orientation will take place? Is it in August? Yeah, so usually last week in August. We don't know date yet, but when we have a spring meeting for parents, we'll let you know what the dates are. How does district choose which middle school my child will attend? You answered that question. Can you request a certain middle school? Yes. Please email to both Dan and I with your request. What are the plans to transition DLA 5th graders to middle school? They abruptly changed from standard school schedule to distance learning for a year and a half, going back to classes. Yeah, so we actually already experience it right now. Your kids won't be the first group of kids coming in because we just started Q3 and we had, I would say, in each building close to maybe 2 dozen of 6th graders who enter in the building for the very first time. So they've been DLA in last spring. And then their families chose to be distance learners in September, and now Q3, they said we would like to bring our kids back to school. And talking to parents right now, their kids are having a good time transitioning. It takes a little bit more time, but we're aware of it. We brought them to the building earlier. We helped them with getting oriented with the building. There are a lot of adults in the hallways helping them out. So, and it's going well. So there are kids maybe similar to your kids who've been almost a year, right? Q4 of last year, Q1, 2, pretty much 2/3 of the school year as distance learners, and they've been very successful. All the promote, okay, we talked about that. Can you please address how food allergies are handled in middle school? So middle school is a little bit different. In the cafeteria, we do not have peanut-free tables in the cafeteria. We really educate kids to advocate for themselves. Now, our kitchen staff is aware of who the kids are, so there are a variety of options for them. Our nurse educate kids, they work with kids, work with the family, and also letting us know staff in the cafeteria and kitchen staff who the kids are. So we asking them to advocate for themselves and educate kids at their table too, if they don't know yet about that. So, and it's going well. And from our experience, it's going really well.
I'll jump in here.
Go ahead.
A question that was posed in advance about IEPs and 504s and what's done for those students to ensure a smooth transition for students who are on IEPs and 504s. We have had, and assuming we have our same spring meeting schedule that we offer, we have had a special event prior to our information night for incoming students, or parents rather, to the building that they get assigned to, so in the end of May, where we invite students to come and learn, parents rather, of students who are on an IEP to learn about our special education services programming at the middle school, at the respective middle school that they've been assigned to. So we meet with, they meet with staff that represent our special education. Additionally, our case managers meet with elementary case managers to review and are often a part of transition IEPs, depending on the nature of that IEP, are a part of that as we transition students. And similarly, or likewise, with regard to 504s at the middle school level, our counselors are the ones who facilitate the 504s for students. So they do get those from the social workers who are at the elementary level. They send them that those lists of students and that information, and they have a meeting, the staff, sharing that information about your student so that we can get them off on the right foot when they join the middle school and provide the right services for that. The next one is probability, and I mentioned this, the probability of in-person instruction for next year, for 5 days a week. I think we are all hopeful. We are all anxiously awaiting that opportunity, and as I mentioned in my opening comments, so are our staff. They recognize and miss the opportunity to have kids in front of them on a daily basis. And I think that we're all looking forward to that day, and we all have confidence that it's going to get here sometime in the near future. And my hope would be when your students enter the building. It was a challenging transition for our incoming sixth graders this year. Something that we've never experienced in our number of years in this, obviously. I think all in all, our kiddos are doing well, but they certainly would probably be doing much better if we were in person all the time with them. So we certainly look forward to that opportunity to start the year with your sixth graders differently than we did our current sixth graders. Feel as though we've covered most of the other questions that were posed in advance of that. There's one, online academy. Where will there be online academy options next fall? We as a school district are applying to be able to offer online and be certified, if you will, by the Department of Education for that. We are engaging in those conversations specific to the middle school, but more specifically looking at the high school at this time. That would potentially be a multi-year, so that's where our focus is right now for our application, is for high school courses to be offered. But moving forward, we certainly might be looking to what middle school courses might be able to be offered in that way. Obviously, we are offering some of them right now in that format, and we recognize also the challenges that presents for a student at the age that we service. So we want to be very careful about the planning for that, but we also want to be mindful that there are some students and families for whom they are experiencing success. So we want to be able to meet their needs as well.
Are there any questions from the audience?
And I know we say note card, but we feel like we're a small enough audience that feel free to shout it out.
Huh?
Yes.
In terms of next steps, I don't know if you guys talked about this. I know you said that you were going to go out to the class
That is correct. We only go to the student or schools that are part of our school district, but we certainly our counselors and we as principals meet with families who are interested in coming on a regular basis.
So, if you registered with us, with Prior Lake Savage, if you already entered for next year, you did an online registration. Every time we send any kind of communication to fifth grade families, you will be included. So you will be in the loop about any kind of communication like that. For example, if we're doing tours, there was a question there, will our kids have a chance to tour a building? We certainly hope so, because that's what we used to do in the spring. And so what we do, we communicate with families who are from Aspen Academy, St. Mike's, and say, okay, those are the dates when counselors will connect with you and say, those are the dates when we're touring. You're welcome to join, your child welcome to join for any of these dates. Because you would know your placement. It usually happens after placement letter, so towards the end of May.
And the important point there is that you need to register through our online registration process.
Yeah.
To the district to be enrolled as a student. So that is available online, or you can go to the district service center. We don't enroll. We have what's called centralized enrollment that occurs at the district service center on Tower Street. Or you can fill out the form online, and then that gets forwarded to us, and we place students on that list.
Other questions?
I do believe that similar rules and routes apply, yes, for if you can get to a nearby. Yep. Yep. Yep, and the arrangement would be similarly made with the transportation office, making sure that you're in contact with them so that they have you on a route, your child on a route.
Now, in addition to that, if you are dropping off your child in the morning, both buildings are open at 6:45 in the morning, and you can drop them off anytime between 6:45 and 7:10. And like Dan mentioned earlier, you probably would like to stay away from 7:10. Your child might as well ride in a bus at that time. I think they're 6:50, 6:52, unless you want to be stuck in the loop of either building, that you probably want to be dropping your child and leaving the fish point between two buildings at that time. You don't need to sign up for drop-off. That's the difference between elementary and middle school. So you just drop them off starting 6:45, and they go into the supervised area, and they're there, and they're being dismissed at the time where kids are being dismissed from buses, just maybe a minute or so earlier than kids getting dismissed from buses. At that time, they also can go to cafeteria and buy a breakfast, and have breakfast, or they can read, write, some sleep, some try to catch up on some of the homework, some just socialize with each other. So the number really varies, and again, you don't need to sign up, and that's in the morning. Any other questions?
And we will certainly stick around for any questions that you want to come up and speak to us individually about. I do want to send a special thank you to those that joined us online. We did have over 300 people join us. So with those who are in the audience, frankly, I think that's probably record attendance for our event here. And that's great. We're excited about that. And thank you all. And we will be posting our PowerPoint presentation on our respective websites tomorrow. So if there was any information that you didn't capture or catch that you want to, you're certainly free to access that on our website. And we look forward to our counselors having an opportunity to meet your kiddos here in the next week or so. And looking forward to seeing all of you again later this spring.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.